When you all go shopping, do you suggest a certain bag material like paper or plastic?
Paper.
Paper?
Plastic.
So I did an audience analysis for my online class, and most of them just take plastic, with a few that did suggest paper, or they actually did bring their own bag, which follows up with my next question. Have you ever thought about using a reusable bag or buying one?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. That's awesome. So surprisingly, most of the people in my class did have a reusable bag, but only half of them only used it. The other half did not use it, which it's good that the people that did use it, but the other half, they should start using it more. So the purpose of my speech is to persuade you all that paper and plastic are no better than each other. They both have very harmful effects to our environment, and that you should go out and buy a reusable bag. So after taking my English 101 class with Colleen Webster, it was all environmental based. So everything I did was a speech, essay, project, was all based on the impact these bags had on the environment. So I do have a lot of knowledge like on paper and plastic. And I learned a lot about these and the impact. So to begin, I will discuss the impact the paper and bags had in our environment. Then I'll follow up with the plastic bags and their impact on our environment. Then I'll touch on recycling. And then I'll end with the reusable bag and tell you all how you should go out and buy them. And the best way to get my point across and to persuade you all is to just tell you the facts, to really open your eyes to what's going on around us and the impact they do have on our environment. I use 3 sources to get my facts, one being ABC News, an article called All About Bags, a website called Eco Myths that had an article that was saying how paper bags are greener than plastic bags. So obviously it's a myth. It was on the Eco Myths website. So to start, paper is no better. Americans, we do consume about 10 billion paper bags per year. And then the paper bags have to come from somewhere. So we do cut down and destroy 14 million trees annually. So these trees not only affect the animals and their habitats and food, but it do affect us directly because it affects the air we breathe, because we do breathe oxygen. Trees create oxygen. The use of toxic chemicals during the paper bag production does pollute the environment. This affects like water pollutants go into the aquatic environments, or it affects our drinking water directly. Third, it takes more than 4 times as much energy to produce a paper bag than a plastic bag. So we're using all this energy to create a paper bag when it just is affecting our environment by letting out all these pollutants. The production of these paper bags generates 70% more air pollutants and 50 times more water pollutants. And this simply, again, they're releasing all these pollutants into the air that we breathe, so it's affecting us directly. And then lastly, even paper bags made of 100% recycled fibers use more fossil fuels. And these fossil fuels, we can use them to benefit our economy, and I'll talk about that more when I get to the plastic aspect, but we're using it to harm the environment. Next, plastic is simply plastic. You all know that plastic is not good for the environment, but again, it is the most convenient way to transport our groceries to our car, so we do all accept it. Plastic bags have been around for 30 years now, and it's been said, like estimated worldwide, that we use about 1 trillion bags a year worldwide, and we discard them, and that's pretty eye-opening because they haven't even been around that long. Just 30 years isn't that long, and we use about like 1 trillion bags a year. So then, the major chemical in this plastic is polyethylene, which is like another sort of petroleum. Petroleum is used in our automobile gas. So we make all these plastic bags using all of this petroleum, which could be used for other things to benefit our economy because of the fluctuation of the gas prices. But again, we're just using it to harm our environment. Third, a plastic bag can take about 15 to 1,000 years to break down. And they don't even biodegrade, they just photodegrade, which is simply they break down into smaller particles, so they never fully disappear. They just sit around, they'll end up in our food supply because the animals will ingest it, and then we eat our animals, so then it'll just end up back in our food supply. Fourth, an estimated 1 million birds, 1,000 marine mammals die per year, including whales, seals, sea turtles. They all ingest the plastic, thinking and mistaking it as food. When they eat the plastic, it just sits in their bodies because it doesn't break down or anything, so they feel like they're full. They never eat anything ever again because the plastic is just sitting in their stomachs, causing them to starve to death. Or if they're small enough, they'll choke on the plastic. And I've even saw a picture of a sea turtle grow up with plastic wrapped around it because they get entangled into the plastic. and then they grow up and their shell is deformed, so it does cause deformities to these animals. And then it'll eventually come back around to humans. Like I said previously, it will end up in our food supply. The animals eat it, we eat the animals, vice versa. The toxins are attributing to the environment, causing off bad pollutants. And then again, like I said, the polyethylene is made from petroleum, which is a major source of energy for our heating, electricity, and lighting. And about 4 to 5 trillion plastic bags are manufactured each year. And so we're wasting all of this petroleum simply on the plastic bag production when it can be simply used for other things like our gas, like I've already said. And then recycling. Out of 1 trillion bags, only 1% are recycled. So it's a huge number, and 1% of 1 trillion is a big number as well. But again, that's such a small percentage that we could be recycling these plastic bags. Plastic bags do take less energy to recycle than paper. So saying plastic and paper, you can recycle plastic, but then it'll end up in the environment again, and we'll just keep reusing it because the paper bags can be recycled, but also that is inefficient as well. It consumes more fuel than it would make to make a new bag. So what's the point of recycling a paper bag when we could just make a new bag because it takes up more energy and all that? And then it takes about 91% more energy to recycle a pound of paper than a pound of plastic. So when people say just recycle your bags, it's good for the environment, it's really not because we're using more energy that we could be putting off to another sort of things in our economy. And let's see here. We think we are doing a good deed by recycling because everyone's like recycle, recycle, recycle. But again, like I said, it's just going to harm our environment more because we're just producing more, putting it off in our environment, causing bad things that happen, such as air pollutants, water pollutants. And then just don't throw it away. My family, we do keep a stash of plastic bags to reuse them for taking them to parties, bringing them, packaging things like if we need to. And we reuse them. We keep them in our closet. It's simple. You just put them in your closet. Don't throw them away. Just keep reusing them. Again, with reusable bags. This is an example. It's made of recyclable sources. You just keep this in your car. You can take it to the grocery store. You can go out to the mall. Just put everything in the bag so you don't keep using plastic bags. Because if you do buy a reusable bag, it does save about 125 bags a week. So over a course of the year, that is a lot of bags you can add up over a period of time. And it is very beneficial to our environment. So to conclude here, you may thought paper is more eco-friendly and the most eco-friendly choice than plastic, but overall they both have very harmful effects to the environment. They can both cause very bad things to happen, and it will directly affect us and the animals, so we just don't want that happening. So they're both harmful, and I would just suggest to go out today and buy a reusable bag, just to do your grocery shopping, simple things. You can just go out today and buy a reusable bag. Thank you.